So, Spy, which, as you've quite rightly said, Melissa McCarthy, directed by Paul Feig or Feig, who directed Bridesmaids. And
how are you spelling that?
Feig.
Feig.
Okay.
Conventionally.
Thank you very much. So she plays Susan Cooper, who is a desk-bound intelligence operative. She gets the chance to get out from behind the desk and go out into the field and kick some butt when her Bonder-like agent, because she's the voice in Jude Law's ear. That's what she does. You know, she sits and she tells him how to do all the stuff, so he's out in the field. But then something happens to him very, very early on. He takes an early bath, and they need somebody out of it who is unknown, who is not known to the baddies. And so she says, well, you know, I am actually an agent. And everyone looks at her and says, really? And she says, yes. And then she goes out. So she goes off to Europe. She goes off to Europe in search of Rose Byrne's sinister villain. But all the time that she is in Europe, her path keeps crossing with that of Jason Statham. Jason Statham is the old kind of spy who believes that spying is a man's work, and he's done this stuff for ages and ages. At the very beginning, he says, "Why can't you send me out into the field?" They go, "No, but they know who you are." He says, "Yeah, but they just send me. I'll go to the face-off machine, and no, you can't go to the face-off. Why can't I use the face-off? Because it doesn't exist." "Yes, it does. You're just lying to me." Anyway, so Melissa McCarthy is out in the field.
It's a comedy. The way you did that there.
It is a comedy. Yes. You do know this is a comedy.
Yes, I do. It was just the way you did it there was extraordinary. It was good. I like the timing.
Thank you very much.
It was good.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm now so floored by you being complimentary that I can't carry on. Anyway, so she goes off to go and do the stuff, and first thing happens when she arrives in Paris, turns out Jason Statham's agent has gone rogue and is following her there. Here is a somewhat doctored clip because, as the letter, the email writer pointed out, it is a film in which feet, fists, and indeed F-bombs fly.
What are you doing in my room?
Well, how did I get into box hotel room? Because I'm a real spy.
I thought you quit.
We have to stop the sale of a nuclear bomb. And they send in someone who looks like Santa Claus' wife.
Did you forget? I am undercover because you're not supposed to be here.
You really think you're ready for the field? I once used defibrillators on myself. I put shards of glass on my eye. I've jumped from a high-rise building using only a raincoat as a parachute and broke both legs upon landing. And I still had to pretend I was in a Cirque du Soleil show. I've swallowed enough microchips and them back out again to make a computer. This arm has been ripped off completely and reattached with this arm.
I don't know that that's possible. I mean, medically.
You were saying you're very straight-faced.
Yeah, well, I was interested. I was just getting the measure of it.
You were just getting the measure of it.
I was trying to work out what the words were that had been taken out.
Fine,
and I was just writing them down.
Okay.
Pass them on later.
The thing about it is, on paper, it sounds absolutely brilliant. Melissa McCarthy and Rose Byrne and Jason Statham. And it's okay. It's very uneven. It is often hilarious. It is not, I mean, as with previous work, it is not something that is too proud to take the low road in pursuit of a cheap gag. And it also has a recurrent sexual harassment gag that, frankly, only McCarthy could have managed to get away with and somehow invert. You do get the feeling with it that a lot of her funniest lines are stuff that wasn't in the script. And you also get the feeling that the director has enough confidence in her to sort of stand back and let her do the things she does. And it's a film which allows her to do all these different personas because she goes from being the person who's behind the desk to the person who's sent out into the field firstly, undercover in a very sort of frumpy role, but then starts to develop into something altogether more glammy. So it's a real sort of showcase for her extraordinary comic talent, and she is really funny. I mean, she is really, really consistently funny. We've seen her in scene-stealing performances in things like Bridesmaids. What's more remarkable is that, alongside Jude Law, who we've seen do that sort of stuff before to some extent, Jason Statham comes out of it really well. Now, it's funny because some people have said, well, Jason Statham is a real revelation, and he is in as much as we haven't sort of really seen him in comedy films before. But I've always had the sense, and I'm a huge Jason Statham fan, I've always had the sense that what Jason Statham is he's fantastically self-aware. He knows what he is, he knows what he does, he knows what his audience is, he knows how far he can push it. And actually, watching Spy, one of the biggest smiles from it, and it is very uneven, and it's not brilliant, but it is good up to a point. But one of the biggest smiles from it is looking at it and going, I knew he was that self-aware. I knew he had that capability of laughing at himself, and he does it very, very well. It's funny because in the past when we've talked about Statham films, there's always been this thing about the payoff between the acting and the action, because he is an action hero who does his own stunts and is extraordinary. And it's funny how people sort of tend to be sniffy about physical performance. I mean, Jason Statham fights like a dancer, and I think that's one of the reasons why I like him so much as a movie star. But in this, he just demonstrates that everything you ever thought about him being self-aware, about him knowing what his position is spot on the money, and he's very, very funny. Melissa McCarthy, all the way through it, is in home territory. The screenwriting itself and the plotting is rather baggy. Sometimes when we get into the more spy actiony stuff, it becomes more pedestrian, and it's certainly not the slam dunk that you would expect from the director of Bridesmaids, perhaps, but it's consistently and occasionally sort of slightly guiltily funny. Albeit in an uneven way, but there is more than enough laughs in there to justify it, and many of them are from McCarthy, but many of them are from Jason Statham, who is funny.